Reality Under Siege, a field guide to cognitive security. The battlefield isn't out there, it's up here.
Reality Under Siege, a field guide to cognitive security. MXTM Aka Pirate 1 VJ Suna Me X June 16, 2026 by Pirate. First, for the MXTM's newsletter for years we were told that cybersecurity was about protecting computers. Then we were told it was about protecting networks, then cloud infrastructure, then AI models, but the most valuable attack surface was never silicon. It was you. The modern threat landscape no longer revolves around stealing passwords, encrypting hard drives, or hijacking servers. Those remain important, but they're increasingly secondary objectives. The primary target has become human perception itself. The objective is not to hack your machine. The objective is to influence the operator. What we are witnessing is the emergence of a new domain of conflict: cognitive security. Most readers understand phishing. Someone tricks you into clicking a malicious link. The attacker gains access. Now imagine a phishing campaign that doesn't seek your credentials. Imagine one that seeks your beliefs. Imagine an operation designed not to steal your bank account but to alter your model of reality. That is a far more dangerous compromise, because unlike a password, beliefs cannot simply be reset. The 5 layers of human vulnerability. Think of your mind as a biological computer running on millions of years of evolutionary legacy code. Like any complex system, it contains multiple layers. Layer 1, the sensory interface. Every perception begins here. Your eyes, your ears, your nervous system. For most of human history, sensory input was relatively trustworthy. A voice was attached to a real person. A photograph represented something that actually existed. A witness account came from a witness. Those assumptions are evaporating. Today, a convincing voice clone can be generated in minutes. Synthetic video can place words into mouths that never spoke them. AI-generated imagery can manufacture entire events that never occurred. The problem is not that humans are stupid. The problem is that human perception evolved for physical reality rather than synthetic reality. We inherited hardware optimized for detecting predators in tall grass, not generative adversarial networks. The consequence is obvious. The sensory layer can no longer be trusted automatically. Verification must now become a deliberate practice. Layer 2. The neurocompiler. Raw sensory information is useless until interpreted. This interpretation happens largely outside conscious awareness. Your brain continuously compresses reality into workable shortcuts. These shortcuts are called heuristics. They save energy. They save time. They keep us alive. They also create vulnerabilities: confirmation bias, authority bias, social proof, fear responses, identity protection, narrative attraction. These are not flaws. They are features. Unfortunately, every feature becomes an exploit once sufficiently understood. What previous generations called propaganda was often crude and imprecise. Today's persuasion systems are increasingly personalized. Machine learning allows messages to be adapted, tested, refined, and redeployed at unprecedented scale. The result is not mass persuasion. The result is precision persuasion. Every individual can receive a different version of reality. Layer 3, the mind kernel. Beneath opinions lie deeper structures: identity, worldview, core assumptions, moral frameworks. This is the kernel layer. Compromise here is profoundly different from ordinary misinformation. At this depth, people no longer merely believe false things. They begin filtering reality through altered operating instructions. Facts cease functioning as corrective mechanisms. Contradictory evidence is reinterpreted as proof of persecution. Counterarguments become validation. The system develops self-protective feedback loops. This phenomenon appears across political movements, religious movements, financial cults, conspiracy communities, corporate ideologies, and institutional orthodoxies. No tribe is immune. The dangerous question is not, can other people be manipulated? The dangerous question is, under what circumstances could I be manipulated? That question has far fewer volunteers. Layer 4, the mesh. Humans do not think alone. We think together. Networks of individuals create larger cognitive structures. Shared narratives, shared assumptions, shared emotional states, shared enemies, shared dreams. Once established, these structures develop momentum. The group begins influencing the individual as much as the individual influences the group. A narrative becomes self-sustaining. At that point, only a handful of influential nodes may need manipulation to shift an entire ecosystem. This dynamic existed long before the internet. The internet simply accelerated it. Social platforms, recommendation engines, influencer economies, and AI-generated content have dramatically increased the speed at which collective belief systems can emerge, mutate, and spread. The challenge for citizens is no longer information scarcity. It is narrative abundance. We are drowning in competing realities. Layer 5. Cultural bedrock. The deepest layer is rarely discussed because it is largely invisible. Every civilization rests upon assumptions so fundamental that they are mistaken for natural law. Economic assumptions, political assumptions, technological assumptions, historical assumptions, assumptions about human nature itself. These frameworks determine which futures appear possible and which appear absurd. Because they operate beneath conscious awareness, they are extraordinarily difficult to examine. Yet, they shape entire generations. When change occurs at this level, societies can transform without fully understanding why. History is littered with examples. Entire populations once considered monarchy inevitable. Others considered slavery inevitable. Others believed industrial growth was limitless. Others believed nuclear war was unavoidable. Each era mistakes its own operating assumptions for reality. Then, history rewrites the source code. The new information battlefield. The most unsettling realization is that nobody needs complete control. An attacker does not need to convince everyone. They only need to create enough uncertainty that consensus becomes impossible, enough confusion that trust collapses, enough noise that signal disappears. In such an environment, paralysis becomes the product. Citizens lose confidence in institutions. Institutions lose confidence in citizens. Experts lose credibility. Amateurs gain audiences. Truth competes with performance. Reality competes with engagement metrics. The battlefield becomes self-sustaining. The cognitive security protocol. The solution is not paranoia. Paranoia is merely another exploit. The solution is disciplined skepticism. Verify before sharing. Distinguish evidence from narrative. Separate emotional activation from factual verification. Question information that perfectly confirms your worldview. Question information that perfectly enrages you. Question information that arrives pre-packaged with instructions about who must be hated. Most importantly, maintain the ability to update your beliefs. A system incapable of revision is not strong. It is brittle. The strongest minds are not those that never change. They are those that can change without breaking. The future will belong to populations capable of defending not only their infrastructure, their economies, and their institutions, but also the integrity of their perception. The next generation of security is not cybersecurity. It is reality security. And unlike firewalls, encryption, or access controls, this defense begins inside the skull of every citizen, including yours. Addendum. The hyperreality problem. Longtime readers of MXTM will recognize that cognitive security does not end with propaganda, misinformation, or even synthetic media. The deeper threat is hyperreality. The French philosopher Jean Baudrillard described a condition in which representations cease to reflect reality and instead become reality's replacement. The map becomes more influential than the territory. The simulation becomes more consequential than the thing being simulated. When Baudrillard was writing, this seemed abstract. Today it feels operational. Social media profiles have become more economically valuable than the humans behind them. Political narratives often exert greater force than observable events. Brands possess identities that exist independently of their products. Financial markets react to expectations of expectations rather than underlying fundamentals. Increasingly, we inhabit environments where symbols interact primarily with other symbols. Reality itself becomes a secondary input. Artificial intelligence dramatically accelerates this process. A language model does not experience reality. It experiences representations of reality. An image model does not know what a mountain is. It knows statistical relationships between images labeled mountain. As synthetic systems proliferate, we are constructing vast informational ecosystems populated by entities whose understanding of the world is derived entirely from prior representations. The result is recursive simulation. A model trains on content generated by previous models. A journalist summarizes a social media reaction to an AI-generated event. Another AI summarizes the journalist's summary. Investors react to the AI summary. Algorithms amplify the investor reaction. The feedback loop closes. At no point is direct contact with reality guaranteed. This is the true cognitive security challenge of the 21st century. Not merely deception, substitution, the replacement of direct observation with infinitely circulating representations, the replacement of experience with feeds, the replacement of territory with maps, the replacement of reality with engagement. This is why sovereignty increasingly begins with first-hand verification. Visit the place, meet the person, inspect the source, test the claim, measure the phenomenon, observe with your own senses whenever possible. The future may belong to artificial minds, digital twins, autonomous agents, and machine-mediated civilization. MXTM has long argued that such a future is not only possible but likely. Yet the value of reality itself rises as simulation becomes abundant. When synthetic worlds become effectively free, genuine observation becomes a scarce resource. In an age of infinite generated content, reality becomes the premium asset. The citizen capable of distinguishing territory from map may become as strategically important as the engineer capable of building the map in the first place. Hyperreality is not merely a philosophical curiosity, it is becoming critical infrastructure, and critical infrastructure requires defense. Parting words, hyperreality is no longer just a cultural phenomenon, it is becoming an economic one. Profiles, reputations, recommendation systems, AI-generated identities, digital twins, agent swarms, and algorithmic trust scores are all forms of tradable hyperreal capital. Increasingly, institutions are interacting not with humans, but with simulations of humans. That may be the next battlefield in cognitive security. Not defending minds from false realities, but defending reality from increasingly persuasive minds that never existed. #pirate first profile. VJ Su Zik 3 minutes ago. Reality under siege. V2, https://www.flowmusic.app/song/7C211A54-070B-4AD-4-ATFC-670FAR914D9E2. Thanks for reading MXTM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work with CoinBTC. Send it to 1NPHXMPFZJVMXSBPQVRWAALUC5BA0TSFU6 or with fiat at paypal.me/martinchartron. The next battlefield isn't cyberspace, it's perception. As AI-generated media, algorithmic narratives, and synthetic identities proliferate, the challenge is no longer separating truth from lies. It's separating reality from increasingly convincing simulations. In an age of infinite generated content, reality becomes the premium asset. New on MXTM, Reality Under Siege, a field guide to cognitive security. #pirate first. Reality isn't disappearing, it's being outcompeted. The human mind evolved to navigate forests, oceans, and tribal politics, not deep fakes, recommendation engines, and AI-generated consensus. Protect your devices, protect your data, but most importantly, protect your Reality Under Siege is now live on MXTM.
Every screen got a story, and every story got a feed. Reality under siege, who decides what is real? When the map becomes the territory, and the simulation steals the wheel.
First comes the senses, eyes and ears under attack. Synthetic faces, synthetic faces, synthetic faxes, synthetic facts, then the shortcuts, and you're thinking buyers running in the dark. Little men allowed to pay a lot, drawing maps without a spark. Then they target your identity, the kernel at the core, the kernel at the core. Not what you think today, but what you'll think forevermore.
Reality under siege.
Once the firmum gets rewritten, truth can't find the door. People build entire religions out of what they can't ignore. Verify. Verify. Question. Question. Before you join, compare. before you choose. Think before they do. Networks build realities, become kings, millions of connected minds, moving on invisible strings. A rumor becomes a movement becomes a law. Nobody knows who started it, nobody sees the flaw. Nobody sees the flaw. Then beneath the culture, under history and myth, live the hidden in assumptions. Everything is built with. Every empire got a story. Every age got a spell. Most people call it normal till the whole illusion fell.
Maybe the future belongs to machines. Maybe agents write the news.
But one thing still has value when similarity becomes rare, and the rarest things run the
Structure layers are now operational across the Tulum Sustainable Development Zone. Despite minor data corruption regarding land narrative, the impact report remains positive. The simulation data confirms critical interference levels across the territory. Narrative load is unstable.
Be advised, paranoia is now a product. The risk assessment is maximum.
Remain sovereign amid the noise. As the interference level spikes, their simulation engagement increases.
We must decipher the reality of this update.
Attention. Signal integrity is failing.
We have 4% uptime before the broadcast load collapses. Decipher the transmission and act immediately.
4-2.
The 1%. A post-a transition doctrine. A post-scarcity secession doctrine. Highly capable professionals in a state of profound identity disorientation.
Aldea Zama, a territorial foundation for post-professionals, those who wish to lead their lives as sovereign operators.
This is The Brief on the post-corporate transition. A wild new manifesto from MXTM explores how AI is forcing displaced professionals to literally rebuild their identities from the ground up inside brand new physical communities. First, AI isn't just taking jobs. It's completely voiding our institutional contract. You know, corporate jobs used to provide our identity architecture, our daily structure, social status, and purpose. Without them, we're left with identity without architecture. AI isn't just some shiny new tool to help us work faster. It's an absolute solvent, totally dissolving the scarcity of cognitive labor our entire knowledge economy rests on. And well, because this corporate foundation vanished overnight, early adopters kind of panicked and just tried running away. Second, that digital nomad era was really just a transitional fantasy. So why wasn't working from a beautiful beach in Tulum enough? Well, because people basically tried to subtract the awful parts of corporate life without actually building a replacement civilization or real infrastructure. They just slapped a pretty sunset aesthetic over the exact same corporate logic. Since escaping to a laptop on a beach completely failed, the only way forward is to physically build something real. Finally, displaced professionals desperately need to rebuild in physical transition districts, like the real-world development of Aldea Zama. A Zoom screen absolutely cannot hold you accountable to your environment, and it definitely won't give you a true territorial identity. Genuine sovereignty actually requires physical co-presence and sustained commitment to a real place alongside real people. Ultimately, surviving this massive AI disruption isn't about snagging a better remote job. It's about anchoring yourself in a tangible, physical community to build a truly sovereign identity.
This is raise the black. And so we did, and so we never lowered it again. Patience and a quiet venom, smart and slow. Under static anger spreads, code drips below. No peace in the silence, just a warning. Raw heartbeat sinks with the siren of new war. Bitterness spikes and I sip on the glitch. Digital venom, pixels twitch. I draw my plans in smoke and zeros tonight. Pirates fracture all the heroes.
Another hero falls, another broken scene. They promised truth, they promised light, but all I got was another sleepless night. While we're working hard, all lies lasting. You will never be a millionaire, you stupid fuck. The game is rigged, it's time to say enough. Join the fight of solidarity, we're stronger together.
They say I'm going too far, but I'm just who I am. Breaking through the firewall, watch the systems fall. You will never be a billionaire, you stupid fuck. The game is rigged, it's time to say enough.
Will we take the wheel? Will they save us all? We'll play the flow, the clock's ticking fast. Where do we go? Knowledge, power, the future seed belongs to us all, not the lords of greed. Claim it now like the end of the ring. Save your ability, time and state.
This blueprint is a direct challenge to stop waiting for perfect conditions and to start turning the crisis of AI displacement into a global network of self-sustaining communities
Pirate
right now.
first. Chartrand has spent the last several years developing an independent narrative and publishing ecosystem combining speculative fiction.
This isn't a drop. It's issuance, not a print. Position.
MXTM Studio.